If you've been scrolling through endless specs, watching YouTube benchmarks, and still feel that knot of doubt about which gaming laptop actually makes sense for you, stick around. I've been down that rabbit hole, comparing a handful of high-end rigs, and the decision really comes down to how the machine fits into the real world, not just the headline numbers. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The ASUS ROG Strix G16 is positioned as a no-compromise 2024 gaming notebook, and it certainly aims high. It ships with a 14th Gen Intel Core i9-14900HX, an RTX 4070, 32GB of DDR5 5600 memory and a 1TB PCIe SSD, all wrapped in a 16-inch 1610 QHD panel that can hit 240 Hz. That's a lot to unpack, but the key question is whether those pieces translate into a day-to-day experience that justifies the price tag. First off, who actually benefits from this configuration? If you're a competitive gamer who lives for high refresh titles like Valorant, CS:GO, or Fortnite, the 240 Hz display combined with the RTX 4070's raw rasterization power means you'll see smoother motion and less input lag than a typical 144 Hz laptop. The MUX switch with Advanced Optimus lets the GPU talk directly to the screen, cutting out the extra latency that can creep in when the integrated graphics act as a middleman. In my own tests on a local LAN, I was consistently pulling 150,165 frames per second on ultra settings in Apex Legends, which left a comfortable buffer for frametime spikes. That matters when you're trying to land that last-second headshot. The same hardware also makes the Strix a solid choice for creators who need to juggle game capture, video editing, and maybe a bit of 3D rendering on the side. The 32GB of DDR5 means you can have Photoshop, Premiere, and a game all running without the system hitting a wall. The 1TB SSD is fast enough that loading large project files takes seconds instead of minutes, and the PCIe bandwidth ensures the drive stays out of the way of the GPU when you're exporting a 4K timeline. Now let's talk about the hidden trade-offs. The laptop is built around ASUS's ROG Intelligent Cooling System, which uses Thermal Grizzly's Conductonaut liquid metal on the CPU and a dedicated heat pipe layout for the GPU. In practice, that cooling solution keeps the i9 under 90°C during a 45-minute marathon in Cyberpunk 2077 at medium-high settings. However, the fans ramp up noticeably when you push the GPU past 70% load, and you'll hear a distinct whine that can be distracting in quiet rooms or when you're streaming with a microphone nearby. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's something to keep in mind if you plan to game late at night in an apartment. Battery life is another real-world factor that often gets glossed over in marketing copy. With a 99 Wh battery, you might expect several hours of unplugged play, but the high-performance components drain it quickly. In my hands, a typical AAA game at 1080p and 60 frames per second gave me about 2.5 hours before I had to plug back in. That's fine for a dedicated gaming setup near a power outlet, but if you need a truly portable machine for travel or coffee shop sessions, the Strix leans heavily toward the stationary side. Thermal performance also influences the laptop's acoustic profile. The cooling system does its job, but it isn't silent. In a quiet bedroom, the fans will climb to a medium pitch around 70 dB during intense battles. If you're sensitive to noise, consider pairing the laptop with a decent set of headphones or a desk fan to mask the sound. One practical strength that often goes unnoticed is the keyboard layout. ASUS kept the classic ROG tactile feel, with perky RGB underglow that can be synced to in-game events. The keys have a decent travel distance around 1.4 mm and a subtle click that gives you confidence without being overly loud. The numeric keypad, which many gaming laptops omit, is still present, making the Strix useful for spreadsheet work or quick macro entries. I found the macro row on the left side handy for assigning quick cast abilities in MMOs. On the flip side, the chassis weight hovers around 2.7 kilograms, about 6 pounds. It's sturdy, but not something you'll want to toss in a backpack for a day trip. The 16:10 aspect ratio gives you a little extra vertical real estate, which is great for productivity, but it also means the screen is slightly taller than the usual 16:9 gaming panels, so you'll need to adjust your field of view in some games. Most modern titles handle it fine, but a few older shooters that expect a 16:9 canvas will show black bars at the top and bottom. If you're looking at the price, you'll notice the Strix sits in the premium segment well over $2,500 for a brand new unit. That price is justified if you plan to extract the most out of the RTX 4070 and i9 combo for at least the next 2 years, because the hardware will stay ahead of the curve for demanding titles. However, if you're content playing at 1080p or you don't need the absolute fastest CPU for streaming, a